With President Donald Trump proposing a new approach to Gaza and the Middle East, it's interesting to understand where the so-called Palestinians came from and what we can learn from a century-old marketing campaign against Israel. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan with a reflection on life and liberty. In almost every public battle, the real fight is never the fight itself. The real fight is the fight over what the fight is about. This means establishing the terms that are used to describe the fight and the terms of victory. Because when you are defining the fight, you're much more likely to win the fight. No one in history seems to have understood this better or employed it more successfully than the Roman Emperor Hadrian. After the Jewish revolt of 68 to 73 AD, which included Jerusalem's destruction, everyone in Rome thought their Jewish problem had been put to rest. Not so, replied the remaining zealots and their descendants. The Bar Kokhba revolt of 132 to 136 AD was similarly unsuccessful, but it managed to infuriate Hadrian. He resolved to wipe Jews and all of Israel from the map, and he went about it quite literally. Throughout Roman rule, the region had been known as Judea. Why? Well, 1,000 years earlier, Israel had split into two kingdoms, one in the north called Israel, and one in the south, including Jerusalem, called Judah. Over time, that second name became synonymous with the region. And yes, the name Jew comes to us from Judah or Judea. So Hadrian decided to change the name. He looked back in history and remembered that the hated enemies of Israel from centuries earlier had come from Crete. They were known as the Sea People and had established cities in the land of the Jews. Don't remember Sea People from Sunday school? Well, sure you do. The name is rendered in modern scripture as the Philistines. Hadrian merely Latinized the Hebrew name to Palestinia. Henceforth, in the records of Rome and the successor overlords and shifting languages, the region was known as Palestine. To be clear, there never was a nation or people called by that name in any sense other than as an enemy of Israel. It was a name employed by an angry pagan emperor who hated the Jews. Hadrian understood that by changing the name, he could change the terms of the debate. It would be easier to eradicate the Jews from the land if their name was removed from the land itself. Naming, framing, and branding are important skills. Hadrian employed it for a great evil. So here are 3 takeaways. First, as engaged citizens, we must learn to recognize not only the power of branding, but also be aware of the actions that such political branding is driving us to take. Second, we need to be wary of using the brands and definitions set by our political opponents. Lastly, we on the right should be more aggressive in framing both opponents and policies in ways that makes it easier for our fellow citizens to join effectively in the fight. The Reflections Podcast is presented by Texas Scorecard. If you liked today's message, be sure to rate it, leave a review, and encourage your friends to listen. Today's edition was produced by Nick Shepard. I'm Michael Quinn Sullivan. Thanks for listening.